Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could be here because you're looking at one very excited guy. I've been wanting to put this sausage on the show for quite some time. We tried to get it on season 4, we bumped it, didn't make it on season 5. Well, enough is enough. Today it's going down, and I can't wait to read the comment section because a sausage like today's tends to stir up emotions and feelings that are as strong as the flavor from this salami. I'm talking about the French Saucission Sec Au Roquefort. This is the dried sausage from the Roquefort region of France. And if you haven't already guessed, one of the main flavors from the salami comes from the Roquefort cheese. That is a very pungent type of blue cheese. Are you a blue cheese fan? I hope so. Let's make the Saucisson Sec Au Roquefort.
For today's salami, we wanted lean pork with contrasting colors. So not all of it comes from the loin or the hind leg of the pig. Some of it comes from the shoulder, the front leg. We also have some pork back fat. We're doing 30% fat for this recipe. So we got a 70 lean, 30 fat. If you want to do 20% fat or 25% fat, you could do that. And I'm loving the different colors of meat that we're using here. I think that the slightly different pink tones are going to benefit the overall appearance once we finish making the salami. We're cutting this up into pieces that are small enough to fit into our grinder. And when it comes to salami, I generally do small pieces. I like the knife work, and I find that it produces a really nice, consistent product. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you could do strips or chunks. Really depends on the size grinder that you have. I just got these kitchen knives from bestkitchenknives.com, and I'll put a link in the description box below if you guys want to check out their website. Beautiful selection of knives. Very happy with the ones that I bought. All right, this is going to go into the freezer so that it can partially chill. I want the temperature under 34 degrees Fahrenheit before we grind it. So into the freezer it goes. And let's look at this salami. Very simply seasoned. Salt, cure number 2, white pepper. We've got garlic powder, savor ye, and a touch of dextrose. Now we're adding less dextrose than normal, primarily because we have fermentable sugars in the red wine. We also probably have some fermentable sugars in the blue cheese, but I think the wine and the dextrose are going to give the starter culture what it needs. I did go ahead and chop up the blue cheese, and this is a very, very creamy cheese. So what we're going to do is place this onto like a baking sheet and just stick it in the freezer. I want it completely frozen before we use it, otherwise I think it's going to smear all over the place, and I want blue cheese chunks in the final product. As far as the casing goes, I'm going 60 millimeter. I love this size casing for salami, but you could use whatever size casing you want. I will say that if you choose to go smaller, let's say 30 millimeter, you're not going to want to use cure number 2. Cure number 1 would be more appropriate for a smaller diameter casing. This is a natural hog casing that's been dried, so you don't need to store it in refrigeration. And to use it, all you got to do is rehydrate it for 15-20 minutes. The sausage maker sells a few versions of this particular casing, and I absolutely love it because it doesn't take up fridge space, doesn't have any odors, and they're edible, so it works great. Salami is a fermented sausage, so we're going to be adding a bacterial starter culture to speed that process along. I'm going to add a little bit of that culture to some non-chlorinated water, and there will be a recipe link in the description box below that talks about the specific measurements for not only the spices, but the culture and all those details. Into the water it goes, give it a little swirl, and that's going to rehydrate. Room temperature, 30 minutes. That's going to wake that bacteria up so that when we add it to the meat, it will get to work immediately. As far as the culture goes, you always want to make sure that you keep it in the coldest part of your freezer. And I find that if you store it in a vacuum bag, you will extend the shelf life. This particular culture that we're using has expired 4 years ago, July 2021, and we're in October 2025. And you're going to see how well it works. So for me, vacuum seal bag, and you can find a link for these particular bags in the description box below as well. Our meat is now chilled. Let's take a quick temperature. Under 34 is what I'm looking for. And honestly, what I'm not looking for is blocks of cubed meat that are frozen. That's not going to be good for your salami. I want the meat to have a little bit of a give to it. And so I find that anything between 30 and 34 is acceptable. Today's grind is going to be on a 6 millimeter plate. But if you want to do a little smaller, if you want to do, I probably wouldn't go a whole lot smaller than 6. But if you want to do 8 or 10 millimeter, even 12 millimeter, that might be great. Completely different texture, though, when you start to change the grind size. So play with different grind sizes and see which one you like the best. Loving the way that came out. Beautiful grind. Let's take all those ingredients and mix them together. The temperature of our meat is below 34 Fahrenheit. And the first ingredient I'm going to add here is our starter culture. I just want to incorporate that. Next, we'll go in with our spices. And if you've watched any of our other videos regarding salami making, you'll notice that the process is pretty much the same. I mean, what changes is the protein and obviously the spices, but the process of making salami is kind of identical with most salami. So once you get the process of making salami down, you can pretty much make any salami that's out there. Next, we're going to be adding our wine. And what we're looking for is a very sticky farce. I want a lot of protein extraction. And when I'm talking about proteins, I'm talking about the myosin and actin proteins that are being pulled out of the meat by the salt. Notice the difference? About 60 seconds of mixing, this is what it looks like. Very, very sticky. And when it comes to the blue cheese, we're just going to fold it in by hand. This is frozen. If it weren't frozen, I think it would smear too much and we would lose, the pieces of blue cheese that I'm going for at the end of the process. So my advice here is freeze the cheese that you're going to be using, fold it in, and that way you can maintain those little blocks after it's all said and done. And it's still definitely frozen. The meat is still pretty cold. Absolutely beautiful. See how sticky it is? Just sticks to the underside of your hand. Okay, this looks and smells pretty dang good. For the absolute best results, you want to put this into a dedicated sausage stuffer. We're using a very economical 5-pound stuffer from the sausage maker, small little handfuls, and then I'm just going to tamp it down so that we don't get any air pockets. I'm also trying not to destroy the blue cheese because it is incredibly creamy, which I think freezing it was absolutely perfect for this particular salami. Otherwise, it would just blend with everything else, I think. Load the casing onto the horn, give it a little prick, and start stuffing. So unlike regular sausage, when it comes to salami, you are going to want to put a significant amount of pressure on the casing itself. You want to try to get that meat into that casing as tightly as possible. This is going to give you the best chance for success. If it's too loose, when the salami starts drying, the meat could separate from itself, creating these cavities and voids inside the salami. Show of hands, how many of you have had that happen to you? That's never a fun sight to look at. If you don't currently have a set of stuffing horn cleaners, absolutely brilliant for sausage baking. Cleans out that horn, pushes the rest of that sausage meat into your casing. And there's always going to be a little bit left behind in that hopper. We're going to do something with that hopper. We're going to put that in some cling film so that we can have a sample piece to test the pH. The thing we don't want, at least in this particular case, is to disrupt that larger salami. So that little sample piece is going to be perfect here in 24 hours or whenever, so that we can test the pH and determine whether or not our salami is ready. So a little bundle, set it to the side, and let's wrap this salami making process up. We need to tie off the end. And this is an important step when it comes to making salami, because if you do not tie it tight enough, you could create an area where there's air, and that air becomes a potential contamination point. So I'm stretching the casing, pinching it at the end, and then giving it a twist. And at this point, you could just twist until it's tight enough. But with the natural casings, you do want to be a little careful, because if you twist it too much, they could rupture. Synthetic casings, like your fibrous or your collagen casings, are a little more forgiving. So we're doing a little bubble knot right here by folding that excess casing over that simple knot, creating a little bubble, and then just coming back on the opposite side and then tying, once again, another simple knot. And that's just going to reinforce that knot so that while it's hanging, it doesn't slip out. Let me know in the comment section below if you've ever tried to hang salami, and the next thing you know, you wake up and you've got your salami on the bottom of your chamber, or maybe even salami meat all over your chamber. This salami is not that heavy, so it's not that important, but it's a good habit to get into. We're going to prick our salami all over, getting any air pockets out. Make sure your salami pricker is sterilized. And now it's time to get the weight. 1,181 grams, that's the green weight, or the actual weight. That's why I have an A there. Our target weight is 40% less than that. So when we get to 709, this salami is going to be ready to eat. Now, depending on what you prefer, if you prefer a softer textured salami, you can do 30%. 35% is also pretty popular. I'm going to go a little more firm on this, let that blue cheese age up a little bit and see what it does. So we're going for 40%. And this now needs to ferment. So we're going to place the sample piece as well as the entire salami on a baking sheet and cover it with cling film. You've probably heard me say this in other salami videos, but all the bacteria care about that are inside that salami meat are two things: temperature and humidity. So it does not matter where you place the salami as long as the temperature and humidity are within the ranges for the specific starter culture that you're using. Flavor of Italy likes a temperature between 75 and 85 Fahrenheit and a high humidity. For me, this is room temperature stuff. I'm just going to leave it on the counter covered like that. The cling film is going to lock in the humidity, and the room itself is going to deliver the appropriate temperature. But you could put this in a vacuum bag and ferment it sous vide. You could put it in your oven with the light on, oven off. You could put it in an ice chest with a heating pad, like a seed mat or something like that. All of those conditions work as long as you have the right temperature and humidity. Shoot, you can even ferment this in your Smoke It smoker if you'd like and apply cold smoke during the process. We've certainly done that in the past. If you have any creative ways that you've fermented your salami, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. Quick recap, the starter culture likes to ferment between 75 and 85 Fahrenheit, 23 and 29 Celsius, with high humidity for 18 to 24 hours. We want to ferment this delicate salami to a pH between 5.0 and 5.3. If you have a different starter culture and you would like to know the parameters that your starter culture thrives in, let me know in the comment section below what the name of your culture is, and I'll see if we can help. About 20 hours have passed. It's now the next day, and I'm loving the way this looks. That salami has brightened up quite a bit. It's this beautiful red color. We're going to check the pH of that little sample piece to see if we hit our target. My guess is we have, because Flavor of Italy is incredibly predictable. And remember, ours is 4 years past the expiration date. Notice the texture of it. It's bouncy. It's well bound together. It's glossy. Smells incredible. Very sweet, slightly fermented. That blue cheese is coming through quite nice as well. Based off of what I'm looking at here, my guess for the pH of this salami is, I'm going to say 5.2. I'm going to say 5.2. Here we go. Let's see how close I am. The pH meter is an Apera Instruments pH meter. I'll put a link in the description box below if you don't already have yours. And it looks like, oh yeah, nice, 5.19. Perfect pH for this salami. And just so you know, I'm not really guessing at what the pH is. I'm actually using my senses. How does it feel? How does it look? How does it smell? If the little sample piece would have been more firm and had a sharper, slightly more acidic smell, I would have guessed, something lower. 4.9 or whatever. And so I do think it's important to really hone that sense in when you make salami. But in the beginning, unfortunately, a pH meter is necessary because it gets you there without having to guess. But eventually, once you get good enough, you probably won't need a pH meter. Now, you can let this continue to ferment. We were around 5.2. You can let it go a little more acidic. But for the salami, I don't think I want to. The pH that we have currently is perfect. Besides, it is going to fluctuate a little bit during the drying process. So let's take this and put it into our dry curing chamber. The conditions in your dry curing chamber are so incredibly critical that it can be the difference between a mediocre salami or an extraordinary salami. And the conditions should be somewhere between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 15 Celsius. Humidity should average somewhere between 75 and 80%. And for this particular salami, we're targeting a 40% weight loss. But if you like yours a little bit softer, you can come in at 35 or even 30%. If a basement, cellar, or cave can meet the above requirements, you can hang your salami in there and it will come out beautiful. This chamber comes from the sausage maker. We've been using it for probably 3 years now, maybe a little longer than 3 years, and we haven't had any problems. 60 days have passed. And that's about right for a 60 millimeter salami, at least in this chamber. Depending on your conditions and your parameters, it may take yours a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, but around 60 days is pretty normal. And when I give this a squeeze, it feels great. When you've been making salami for quite some time, you'll know what a properly dried salami feels like. It should be uniformly dried throughout. If you squeeze it and it feels firm on the outside but soft on the inside, well, now you have a problem. That's called case hardening, or at the very minimum, dry ring. But when we open this up, oh, right. That right there, my friends, is exactly what I like to see. That is absolutely beautiful. The center is dry. The exterior is dry. All that's left to do is to slice it.
Time to try the Saucission Sec Au Roquefort. This is the French dried blue cheese salami. Looks beautiful. Give it a little smell. Oh, wow. That's funky. Woo! You're going to have to like blue cheese to like this salami. I haven't even tasted it yet, but I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, I can smell it from right here. I happen to like blue cheese. So to me, this isn't repulsive. This isn't offensive. It's actually quite inviting. It's strangely enough giving me an idea for a different salami. That might be kind of fun. Okay. Oh, wow. In Spanish, the word is pecueque, if you know what that means. That's really interesting. There's this sweet, almost floral thing going on in the aroma, but you're definitely picking up that funky blue cheese. Now it's aged, another 60 days, dried out a little bit. Wow. Oh, wow. That's different. I'm not hating it, though. I got to be honest. My wife, on the other hand, she took a little whiff of this salami and immediately said, no, thank you. So she's not a big blue cheese fan. We're going to go right on in. I like this. We've got a lot of pieces with lots of blue cheese all over the place. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. I was concerned as to how the blue cheese was going to stick around on the inside, and I am noticing it cracking a tiny little bit, but it's sliced pretty thin. It's hanging out in there, no problem. Okay. Saucisson Sec Au Roquefort. Wow, that is so different. I still feel that you have to love blue cheese in order to really enjoy this salami, because the blue cheese flavor is definitely very present. But for this being such a simply seasoned salami, we had a little burgundy, we had a little salt, pepper, garlic. I think that was maybe some savory. This salami is throwing down in the flavor department. It's got, how do I describe it? A very tender bite. And when I eat it, it seems very representative of a classic French salami. Loving the way that it dried. Perfectly even, edge to edge. No problem there. And I think we took it to probably about 38, 39%. You can stop it at 35 if you want it to be a little bit softer, or take it to 40, 42. But I think this is absolutely perfect. Let me just get one more bite, one loaded with lots of blue cheese. Here we go. Wow. The cheese that we used was already creamy and packed with that beautiful flavor, but to me, it seems like it's even creamier now. Let me just pop one of these cheese out and eat it by itself. The flavor is definitely more magnified. Buttery. It just melts in your mouth, 100%. I love it. This is a very delicious salami. It is blue cheese forward, so you got to like blue cheese if you want to experience the Saucisson Sec Au Roquefort. I'll be sure to put a link in the description box for a recipe to today's salami. Let me know if you have any questions. If you enjoyed today's episode, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel and you enjoy sausage making, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. You caught us right in the middle of a month full of daily uploads where we upload a brand new sausage making recipe tutorial through the entire month of October. I don't want you to miss a single episode. You'll find a playlist for Celebrate Sausage Season 6 right about here. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'm looking at my next piece. This is really good, and I cannot believe how much I'm actually enjoying it. When I wrote the recipe for this Saucisson Sec, I was concerned that the blue cheese would come in a little stronger than it should. And although the flavor is definitely forward, there is no denying that there's blue cheese in this salami. It's working really well with the dry cured pork. The flavor that the pork is bringing to the table is just working together. Anyway, be sure to stick around tomorrow. We got a brand new recipe for you to enjoy. See you then. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, that's so good.